Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hayaribo, Jayom Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paraprajak Acharya, Asatara Sri Srimad. ISKCON BBT Panda Charles of Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad is Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Hosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Namadam Ki Jai. Shri Nabarit Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Their most beautiful Lordship Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Shri Rukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Gauritai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Bradanga, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nittai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to the Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityamane, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvashesha Shunyavadi, Paschachideshtarine, Om Agyana Tamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishang, Shapitang Jaina Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Dadati Swapadantikam, Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishyavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vatam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vatangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this presentation was originally supposed to be done by Naranta Prabhu. asked me specifically to be able to speak on this day of the anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in the USA on 1965. But he called me last night to say that he had not been feeling so well. He took a couple of Tylenol, and then he decided to give himself the home COVID test, and it came out positive. So I told him, look, go to a clinic and get the real test, because the home test is nebulous. You should know that. If you have these home kits, they're not accurate. Everybody knows that. They can give you false positive or false negative. And it's not accepted, like by workplaces or by, if you're traveling, they don't accept the home test result. You have to go to a clinic and get the deep swab, and that gives an accurate result. So I told him, go and do that. So he'll do that today, but obviously he didn't want to take a chance by coming today. So being the anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in 65, he told me what he had planned to do. He had planned to read from Prabhupada Lilamrita, and then to, at the end, get into Prabhupada's poem, Markini Bhagavata Dharma, that he wrote when he arrived that day. So I told him I'll follow the same outline. Why should I do anything different? So we're going to do that. If you scroll down, you'll see that there's a quote from Prabhupada's diary that we will actually encounter later on. So go down one more screen. Yes, this is where we'll start. So Prabhupada was in the habit of maintaining a journal, or as we say, a diary, which is a good practice for everybody, because it forces you to organize your thoughts about what you have done, what you plan to do, what you are doing. So Prabhupada did that as a regular daily exercise. For a good part of his life, he did that. He recorded whatever happened during that previous day, and also sometimes his plans of what was coming up. So we're just going to read until we get to the point where there's a reference to that poem, Markina Bhagavata Dharma, and then we'll read the poem. I think we have just enough time to do that. Just today. Yeah, just today. So, the Jaladuta is a regular cargo carrier of the Scindia Steam Navigation Company, but there is a passenger cabin aboard. During the voyage from Calcutta to New York in August and September of 1965, the cabin was occupied by Sri Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, whose age was listed as 69 and who was taken on board bearing a complimentary ticket with food. The Jaladuta, under the command of Captain Arun Pandya, whose wife was also aboard, left at 9 a.m. on Friday, August 13. In his diary, Srila Prabhupada noted, the cabin is quite comfortable. Thanks to Lord Sri Krishna for enlightening Sumati Maharajji for all these arrangements. I am quite comfortable. End of quote. But on the 14th, he reported, quote, seasickness, dizziness, vomiting, Bay of Bengal, heavy rains, more sickness. So, Satsvarup Maharaj is the person who compiled this Prabhupada Lilamrita. So he's telling the story and interweaving Srila Prabhupada's diary entries. On the 19th, when the ship arrived at Colombo, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, Prabhupada was able to get relief from his seasickness. The captain took him ashore and he traveled around Colombo by car. Then the ship went on toward Cochin on the west coast of India. Janmashtami, the appearance day of Lord Krishna, fell on the 20th of August that year. Prabhupada took the opportunity to speak to the crew about the philosophy of Lord Krishna, and he distributed prasadam he had cooked himself. What a fortunate crew! You're an ordinary guy on a ship, and Krishna's pure devotee comes and not only rides on that ship, but cooks for you. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. August 21st was his 69th birthday, observed without ceremony at sea. That same day, the ship arrived at Cochin, and Srila Prabhupada's trunks of Srimad Bhagavatam volumes, which had been shipped from Bombay, were loaded on board. By the 23rd, the ship had put out to the Red Sea, where Srila Prabhupada encountered great difficulty. He noted in his diary, quote, rain, seasickness, dizziness, headache, no appetite, vomiting, end of quote. The symptoms persisted, but it was more than seasickness. The pains in his chest made him think he would die at any moment. In 2 days, he suffered 2 heart attacks. He tolerated the difficulty, meditating on the purpose of his mission. But after 2 days of such violent attacks, he thought, that if another one were to come, he would certainly not survive. Amazing. On the night of the second day, Prabhupada had a dream. Lord Krishna, in his many forms, was rowing a boat, and he told Prabhupada that he should not fear, but should come along. Prabhupada felt assured of Lord Krishna's protection, and the violent attacks did not recur. The Jaladuta entered the Suez Canal on September 1 and stopped in Port Said on the 2nd. Srila Prabhupada visited the city with the captain and said that he liked it. By the 6th, he had recovered a little from his illness and was eating regularly again for the first time in 2 weeks, having cooked his own khichdi and puris. He reported in his diary that his strength renewed little by little. So here's Prabhupada, suffered 2 heart attacks, not feeling well before that because of seasickness, and every day he has to cook for himself. It's not like he had anybody who could say, hey, can make me this or make me that. There was no Govindas to go to. He had to cook for himself. So for preaching, this is the point. For preaching, we should be all ready to do that. If you're sent somewhere, don't mope and look around. Oh, there's no Govindas. Where am I going? Buy some boga and cook it and offer it. Prabhupada set that example. Thursday, September 9th. To 4 o'clock this afternoon, we have crossed over the Atlantic Ocean for 24 hours. The whole day was clear and almost smooth. I am taking my food regularly and have got some strength to struggle. There is also a slight tacking of the ship, and I'm feeling a slight headache also. But I am struggling, and the nectarine of life is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the source of all my vitality. Friday, September 10. Today the ship is plying very smoothly. I feel today better, but I am feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan and my lords, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Radha Damodar. The only solace is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I am tasting the nectarine of Lord Chaitanya's Leela. I have left Bharat Bhumi just to execute the order of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification, but have taken up the risk just to carry out the order of His Divine Grace. I depend fully on their mercy, so far away from Vrindavan. Again, Prabhupada setting the proper mood of a preacher, fully dependent on the mercy of his Guru and the Supreme Lord, and getting vitality and solace from reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. During the voyage, Srila Prabhupada sometimes stood on deck at the ship's rail, watching the ocean and the sky and thinking of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vrindavan Dham, and the order of his spiritual master to go preach in the West. Mrs. Pandya, the captain's wife, whom Srila Prabhupada considered to be an intelligent and learned lady, foretold Srila Prabhupada's future. If he were to pass beyond this crisis in his health, she said, it would indicate the goodwill of Lord Krishna. The ocean voyage of 1965 was a calm one for the Jaladuta. The captain said that never in his entire career had he seen such a calm Atlantic crossing. Prabhupada replied that the calmness was Lord Krishna's mercy, and Mrs. Pandya asked Prabhupada to come back with them so that they might have another such crossing. Srila Prabhupada wrote in his diary, quote, if the Atlantic would have shown its usual face, meaning very rough, perhaps I would have died. But Lord Krishna has taken charge of the ship. End of quote. On September 13, Prabhupada noted in his diary, quote, 32nd day of journey, cooked bhatti khichdi. It appeared to be delicious, so I was able to take some food. Today I have disclosed my mind to my companion, Lord Sri Krishna. There is a Bengali poem made by me in this connection. So this is a different one. This is a poem that he wrote while he was at sea. The one we will read is the one he wrote when he landed in Boston. This poem was a prayer to Lord Krishna, and it is filled with Prabhupada's devotional confidence in the mission that he had undertaken on behalf of his spiritual master. An English translation of the opening stanzas follows. So you can find that in Lilamrita later and read that. We're going to skip that one and just concentrate on the one he wrote when he arrived. I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Shachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great, saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world. In all the cities, towns, and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the holy name of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. This is Prabhupada's humility. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. The poem ends, today that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way, because I have a great longing I call to you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you there is no means of success. So getting back to the narration of the passage. In the same straightforward, factual manner in which he had noted the date, the weather, and his state of health, he now described his helpless dependence on his, quote, companion, Lord Krishna, and his absorption in the ecstasy of separation from Krishna. He described the relationship between his spiritual master and disciple, and he praised his own spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Quote, by whose strong desire the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world. End of quote. He, meaning Prabhupada, plainly stated that his spiritual master had ordered him to accomplish this mission of worldwide Krishna consciousness, and feeling unworthy, he prayed to Lord Krishna for strength. The last verses give an unexpected, confidential glimpse into Srila Prabhupada's direct relationship with Lord Krishna. Prabhupada called on Krishna as his, quote, dear friend, and longed for the joy of again wandering the fields of Braja. This memory of Krishna, he wrote, came because of a great desire to serve the Lord. Externally, Srila Prabhupada was experiencing great inconvenience. He had been aboard ship for a month and had suffered heart attacks and repeated seasickness. Moreover, even if he were to recover from these difficulties, his arrival in America would undoubtedly bring many more difficulties. But remembering the desire of his spiritual master, taking strength from his reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and revealing his mind in his prayer to Lord Krishna, Prabhupada remained confident. After a 35-day journey from Calcutta, the Jaladuta reached Boston's Commonwealth Pier at 5:30 a.m. on September 17, 1965. So, how many of you visited that holy site? How many of you have visited the Commonwealth Pier in Boston where Prabhupada landed? 3 hands, okay. I haven't been there either. My last time in Boston was actually while Prabhupada was still on the planet. I think it was 1974. We had driven from New York to Boston for a program, and then we came back to New York. We didn't take the time to go to the pier. It didn't seem so important at that time because Prabhupada was still here. But now Prabhupada has departed this mortal world. I think I will put that on my list of, I call it ISKCON tourism, places to go in relation to ISKCON and Prabhupada. So, the ship was to stop briefly in Boston before proceeding to New York City. Among the first things Srila Prabhupada saw in America were the letters A and P painted on a pier front warehouse. That A and P it stands for Atlantic and Pacific, and it's a food distribution company, and they were claiming that they, distributed food all across America from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The gray waterfront dawn revealed the ships in the harbor, a conglomeration of lobster stands and drab buildings, and rising in the distance, the Boston skyline. Prabhupada had to pass through U.S. immigration and customs in Boston. His visa allowed him a 3-month stay, and an official stamped it to indicate his expected date of departure. Captain Pandya invited Prabhupada to take a walk into Boston, where the captain intended to do some shopping. They walked across a footbridge into a busy commercial area with old churches, warehouses, office buildings, bars, tawdry bookshops, nightclubs, and restaurants. Prabhupada briefly observed the city, but the most significant thing about his short stay in Boston, aside from the fact that he had now set foot in America, was that at Commonwealth Pier he wrote another Bengali poem entitled Markine Bhagavata Dharma, Teaching Krishna Consciousness in America. So we will switch over to the poem now. It's in the database. If you just click on that link, or you can find it through the contents, you'll get there. Because who knows what you'll find online. Please don't trust whatever you find online. People put all kinds of stuff in the name of Krishna consciousness online, and you may search something, and it doesn't match what Prabhupada gave us. A good example was the last Radhastami. Presentation was made by Nandini Radha Mataji. I watched the presentation, and she had found one Bhagavad Gita verse online and put it in her presentation, but it doesn't match the translation in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So I told her, whenever you have to quote anything, take it from Prabhupada's books, from the database. Don't take it from online, because whatever you find online may not match what Prabhupada gave us. So don't be lazy. Whenever you have to make a presentation or do some research, especially something that Prabhupada presented, like Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, don't take whatever you find online. Make sure it matches what we have in the database, because that's much more accurate. Yeah, if you go back to chapter 12 and scroll down, but from the database, not from the online. You won't be able to click the live link from online. Go to the database. You have the database on your computer? Yeah, so go to the database, go to Lilamrita chapter 12, or just go directly through the contents, and you'll find that. But anyway, if you do it through the Lilamrita, when you get to that reference to Markine Bhagavata Dharma, it's a live link. You click on it, and it will take you to the poem. Yeah. So go to the next volume, volume 2. Yeah, chapter 12, Journey to America. And if you go down to where we just stopped, there's a live link to the Markina. Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll start with the first stanza. Bharakripe kaile Krishna adamar prati ki lagi yani le heta kore ebegati. Translation. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. Ache kichu karja taba e anumane, nahe keno ani ben e ugrastane. But I guess you have some business here, otherwise why would you bring me to this terrible place? Rajas tamo gune era sabai achana, Vasudev katta ruchi nahe se prasana. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. Tabe jadi taba kripa hoy ahai tuki, sakali sambhava hoy tumi se kautuki. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. Ki bhave bujhale tara bujai se rasa, eta kripa kora Prabhu kori nija bhasha. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. So this is instructions to preachers. The preacher never feels that he or she is going to convince people based on their own strength, knowledge, commitment. No, it's always by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Tomara ichaya sabahoy maya bhasha, tomara ichaya nasha maya parasha. All living entities have become under the control of the illusory energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. Taba icha hoy jadi tadira udhar, pujebe nishchay taba kata se tumar. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. So we're all being delivered by Prabhupada's desire. We should think like that, especially on this day. Prabhupada said, I wish that they be delivered. And Krishna is fulfilling that wish. Bhagavatir katta se taba avatar, dhira hoya shunne jadi kane bhar bhar. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is an addition. Prabhupada now quotes those famous verses. Shrinvatam sakatak Krishna punya shavana kirtana hridyantak stohya bhadrani vidunoti suritsutam nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naiski tada rajastamo bhava kama lobhadayasaye cheta eterna vidam stitang sattve prasidati evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grantish chidyante sarva sankshaya kshiyante chasya karmani chishtva eva manishvare. And then the translation is given. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving the service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable, the loving service is established in the hearts, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus, the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Now, there's been debate over this, seeing the self as master. Now, it doesn't mean the individual self, even though it's written here with a lowercase s, because we are not master. Ekala Ishwar Krishna are Sabrita. Krishna is always master in all circumstances. So this line doesn't mean seeing yourself as master. It means seeing Krishna as master. Back to Prabhupada's poem. Rajas tamohate tabe paibe nistar, hridayer habadra sate guchi betahar. He will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. Ki kore bujabo katta bhora saichai, kutra ami dina hina kono shakti nahi. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Again, setting the mood of a preacher. Never thinking that I am going to do it. Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm going to. No. Always taking shelter, taking shelter. Atacha enicho Prabhu kata boli bhare. Jai tomar icha Prabhu kore e bhare. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. Akila Jagat Guru Bachana se amar Alankrita Koribhar Komata Tomar. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So, if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Tabakripa Hailemor Kata Shuddha Abe Shuniya Sabhara Shoka Duka Je Guchibe. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Aniyacho jari Prabhu amare nachate. Nacho nacho Prabhu nacho se mate. Kashtera putali jata nacho se mate. O Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like. Bhakti nai beda nai name khub dharo. Bhakti Vedanta nam ebe sartakakor. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September, 1965. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, what is the purport of Bhakti Vedanta? Bhakti, Srila Prabhupada always translated as devotional service. Many scholars translate it just as Bhakti, but Prabhupada always translated Bhakti as devotional service. And Veda, we know, means knowledge, and Anta means end, or the topmost. So Bhakti Vedanta signifies that Prabhupada was able to give us the topmost realization of knowledge, which is to serve Krishna, to reawaken our love for Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada came to give. He came to the West on the order of his spiritual master. He was fully qualified because he was a pure devotee, but he felt internally unqualified. He was feeling separation, although the devotees never separated from Krishna. This is the mystery of bhakti. A pure devotee is never separated from Krishna, even for a moment. But still, they feel that separation of not seeing Krishna face to face at every moment. It's a dichotomy that cannot be explained. But that feeling is there, and that's the feeling that's promoted in our line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult or culture of devotion. That one should always be in that mood of wanting to see the Lord, but feeling that one can't see the Lord because one is not qualified. So let me serve and do the best I can, so I some or other can do something to attract Krishna's attention, so he'll be kind enough to appear before me. This is the mood of the devotee in our line. Prabhupada said the devotees in this line never claim that I've seen Krishna. So when you go to Vrindavan and so many Babas and they're Sahajas, they're claiming that they were with Krishna last night and this and that. Prabhupada said, we are Rupa Nugas, we're followers of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami never claimed that he saw Krishna here and there. It was, Hey Radhe, Brajadevike, Chalalite. Hey Nandasuna Kutaho. That was the mood of the Goswamis. Hey Krishna, hey Radhe, where are you? Are you on Govardhan? Are you by the bank of Jamuna? I want to see you, I would like to see you, but I'm feeling that I'm not qualified to see it. So Prabhupada came, gave us this pure bhakti, pure devotional service, not dolda, not mixed, pure devotional service. He gave us his source of solace, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that's why Prabhupada insisted, he wanted us to finish those 18 volumes. 17 volumes we did, but there was already one volume Bhagavatam. So he pushed us to finish that Chaitanya Charitamrita, understanding that this is the solace of a preacher. Those who go out into the world on a daily basis to face opposing elements, they take shelter in this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why? Because it's directly connecting us to Lord Chaitanya, and this movement is Lord Chaitanya's movement. So we want to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. We want to be inspired by Lord Chaitanya, by hearing his pastimes, by hearing the philosophy that he delivered. Although Lord Chaitanya didn't write any books, he gave philosophical understanding, especially to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, that was written down. And so when Prabhupada came, before he gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, he gave us teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So you'll find in teachings of Lord Chaitanya's discourse or presentation of philosophy to Rupa Goswami and to Sanatana Goswami. And everything we need to know philosophically is included in those two conversations. Everything is there. He discussed the nature of this world, the nature of the spiritual world, the nature of the process of bhakti. Everything is there. So Prabhupada made sure we had that to inspire us, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And then, as time permitted, he translated the entire and commented on the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. How many of you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, cover to cover? Okay, read it again, and again, and again. There's no such thing as stopping reading Prabhupada's books. If we think that I've read it, and that means we haven't understood. You have to read it again and again. And I've told this story before. One devotee was displaying symptoms of moroseness. I said, what's wrong? What's wrong? You know, couldn't pinpoint. So I said, are you reading? Yes. Every day, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, I read Bhagavad Gita 3 times already, 10 times already, and I've read Chaitanya Charitamrita 3 times and Bhagavatam 2. Read it again. And again and again. The more we read these books and stick to our sadhana practice, the more we become purified, and the more purification takes place, the more understanding increases. And the evidence is that one becomes more and more enlivened and happy in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Now, it doesn't mean that we walk around grinning from ear to ear. Sometimes people mistake that. You Hare Krishnas, you always look so serious. And so the good example is Prabhupada himself. He had given a photograph of himself to Jadharani and asked her to make a painting of it. And so every time he saw her, he asked her, have you finished the painting? No, Prabhupada. So finally he asked her, why? He said, well, Prabhupada, you don't look very happy in that picture. He said, no, I'm very happy. You can't judge by the external look on the face. Internally, the devotee is always happy. Externally, the devotee may be very grave. But internally, the devotee is always happy. So we don't be fooled. People out there think if you're not grinning from ear to ear and, hi, how are you? You know, that something is wrong. No. The devotee's happiness is internal. And as Prabhupada stated in this poem, he wanted to see all these unhappy people in the West become happy through the process of Krishna consciousness. He said they think themselves to be happy. See? By their material engagements, quite often they think they're happy. But their happiness is simply creating a dark future. Happiness in a manner of normal eating, sleeping, mating, and depending that people engage in is simply creating a dark future for themselves. And then when the karma comes home to roost, individually and collectively, they wonder, why is this happening to me? Well, you did so many horrible things in the past. And we should not think ourselves exempt. Every day, we're also, without Krishna's mercy, accruing karma. By breathing, we're killing so many living entities. By eating, by walking, by cooking. And therefore, one has to take shelter of Krishna. That's why Krishna says in the 18th chapter, Moksha Shami Masacha, don't worry, I will protect you from the inevitable sinful reactions that one accrues by living in this material world. It's not that the pure devotees float along the sidewalk and they don't step on any ants. But because they're on Krishna's mission, that is nullified. That's wiped out. So therefore, Prabhupada always said, always be engaged in devotional service. That way you're protected from any sinful reactions. Wherever we go, it should be on a mission, Krishna conscious mission. Whatever we eat should be something that has been offered to Krishna. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita that devotees are cleansed from sinful reaction when they eat because they offer their food in sacrifice. Those who eat only for the satisfaction of their tongue barely eat, only sin. Why would Krishna take the time to tell that to Arjuna on a battlefield? They're getting ready to fight. Armies on both sides. Why would he take the time? It's very important. Everything Krishna stated in the Bhagavad Gita is super important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stated it. Such a short time. Prabhupada said it took maybe 45 minutes, 1 hour max, for Krishna to preach Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So everything he stated there, all 18 chapters, it's all important. So he took the time in the 3rd chapter to point out that if you eat without offering, then you're eating only sin. So don't do that. That's a very, very important factor in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes even as devotees, we lapse. We buy something, a package of something, rip it open and start eating. No, take the time. Offering doesn't mean you have to have an altar and sit down and ring bells. No, Prabhupada said, if you recite a prayer to the spiritual master 3 times, it's considered an offering. So who can't do that, no matter where you are? If you're on a road trip and you buy a bag of chips because you don't have time to cook, open the bag, open your iPhone or smartphone, whatever you have, a picture of your guru is there, I'm sure. If not, you should make sure it's there. Put it on the dashboard and recite your guru's pranam mantras 3 times. Who can't do that? Well, we're so lazy. I remember in the early days, I didn't go on a lot of traveling sankirtan, but I did some. And the devotees would go into a restaurant, into a supermarket, Brahman said, and offer everything in the supermarket, except what's not offerable, like meat. Don't accept that, but accept everything else. That way they could just go down the aisle and pick up things and just eat it. So no, don't be lazy. And especially don't be lazy reading labels. Because nowadays practically everything's contaminated. So if you have to buy processed food, we should try to avoid it. But if you have to buy processed food, read the label carefully. And I'll end with this. There was one famous case here in New Dwarka. It was end of year Sankirtan. We used to have a Sankirtan Mela at the end of year and big feast for all the Sankirtan devotees. And the Sankirtan leader at the time went out and bought nice, things to offer, including ice cream. But he was thinking, normally we buy this vanilla ice cream, plain vanilla, but it's a festival. Let me buy French vanilla. So he bought French vanilla and brought it for the festival. But fortunately, one devotee took a look at the label, and French vanilla has eggs in it. He forgot to read the label. So he was about to feed the devotees ice cream with eggs in it. So don't be lazy. Especially, I know, on Sankirtan, when we're traveling, or just for other purposes traveling, we can become a little bit lax. And some devotees think, oh, well, it's just fruit. I don't have to offer it. No! Krishna says, patram pushram palam toyam. He says, palam. Palam means fruit. Krishna says, offer me fruit. It's not that because it's only fruit, I don't have to offer it. No. Offer everything to Krishna and eat only Krishna prasadam. So this is one of the strong messages that Prabhupada delivered to us when he came to America. He personally cooked in the early days for the devotees just to get them in this habit of cooking and offering, not just buying things and eating it. So every day, Prabhupada would make big lunch for the devotees. And that was another thing that Prabhupada said. Generosity. He had a little bit of money, very little money, just enough to get by, but he spent money to buy boga, enough boga to make enough prasadam so that a room full of young, hungry men could eat to their full satisfaction. Not that you go for prasadam and you get one plate and you come back for seconds and there's nothing left. That's something wrong with that mentality. Prabhupada's mentality was cook enough. And he would plead personally and tell them, eat more, eat more. Only when they got ridiculous. There's that, it's in the Lilamrita, this one devotee Stridesh. He could eat more than everybody else. So he was eating 8, 9. When he got to 10 chapatis, Prabhupada said, no, stop. But in general, if you're a cook, cook enough so devotees can eat, especially when they're young men. Come on, you can't expect a 20, 22-year-old young man to eat just one chapati and a handful of rice. And rice is so cheap. And rice is actually good. Sometimes in the West we think rice is lowly food. Sachitanoi, that bag over there, Sachitanoi, the bag on the shelf, it has the cards for you. But next to the mridanga. Next to the mridanga, that bag is for you. So, yeah, we should always have this generous mentality. Rice is actually good. I just was just reading an article. It says that it has a very good effect on your digestive tract and stuff like that. So, yeah. So that's why in India, because they know from Ayurveda, that's why in India they eat so much rice. Rice is actually good for your digestive system. In the West, they say it doesn't have a lot of nutrition, and they make all kinds of excuses, but rice is actually good for the body. Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So on this day, take the time to read something about Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.